I need a good intro. But topic for the day is something that it's been on my mind a lot for a few months actually. So I was watching this this video by this guy. Oh shoot, I can't remember his name, but he talks about. So it's this guy that's lost a ton of weight, right? And this is not something that I talk about a lot because just like it's like some vulnerability that's just very raw, right? Like being the size that I am is on my mind 100% of the time, and it affects everything I do. And but all that to say, like, so this guy who lost a lot of weight, sometimes it's interesting to hear what he has to say. He was talking with this woman who had also lost a lot of weight. They're talking about their weight loss journey, blah, blah, blah. But one thing that he mentioned was that one of the biggest differences was when he lost weight, he felt like he had to stop, or like he felt like before when he was bigger, like losing the weight helped him realize how often he would kind of amplify his personality as a way of like I don't know, like overcoming. Yeah, I can't remember how exactly he put it, but the idea was he amplified his personality to get people to like him more, right? And I mean, it's not like he was like necessarily, I think, performing, but that when he lost the weight, he felt like he no longer had the need to do that, right? And I think this all comes back to it's just a fact that like prettier, more attractive people are treated so differently. I watched a video about that the other day, and how like they do better at school, right? They get hired at jobs more. They're less likely to be convicted of crimes, right? They're just more likable. Obviously have more friends just by being more physically attractive. But when I saw that video, that guy who lost weight and mentioned this idea, it really struck me, and I think it bothered me quite a bit, just because like amplifying my own personality, I know is something I do a lot. And sometimes it feels like a performance, and maybe in some way I resent that I feel like I need to do it, right? Sometimes I think it's to even just, I think sometimes it doesn't even have to do with other people. Sometimes I think it has to do with myself, and like proving to myself and giving myself like reasons, like to, like, I don't know, that other people would like me, right? But it's all, I don't know. This idea has just been on my mind a lot for months now, and it's been kind of resurfacing, I think, just because like as I'm going through ups and downs, like I'm always interested, anytime I'm in a down, trying to figure out, like, I feel like every down is an opportunity to learn something about yourself. And it's a helpful way to look at it, because then the down doesn't feel so bad. but also I think it really helps. Like, I think like since I've started having this attitude, like my downs have gotten more and more shallow, right? And so this time it wasn't that big of a downer, but some of it was that I was like actually physically sick, right? But also just, I think sometimes too, there's, I don't know, I think I need to think more about this idea that there might be some inauthenticity in the performance that I do sometimes. And I just want to say too that I think we all perform no matter where we are, what we're doing, right? Like if you meet somebody and you don't know them very well, right? Treating them in an informal way is a form of performance, right? you're acting in a certain way so in order to like evoke a certain response, right? And I think that's a natural part of anyone's personality. And I think probably people who act the same to everybody no matter what are probably less healthy, right? But all that to say, I think though, sometimes I sometimes feel like this performing nature cross over into this inauthentic thing where I'm just maybe too big, too loud. Some of it might just be my own relationship with the expectations of extroversion. And that's what's been on my mind a lot lately, is I think I don't give myself enough time to be introverted and to recharge. And that makes, and I lean way too heavily into this extroverted self, which lots of times I really enjoy. And I've worked really hard on being able to communicate and make people feel like I appreciate them, and that is an important part of who I am. And I think like 90% of the time I'm able to do it from a very authentic place, right? I think it wouldn't be effective if it wasn't authentic most of the time. And I think even the times when I call it inauthentic, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling now. This is a really, I think, complex idea. And it all comes back to this idea of like, I don't know, it still bothers me that, and I know this is true, that because of my size, I perform more, right? I feel in some ways, right, like a greater reason to try to evoke positive responses in other people. And that bothers me in some ways, and it's exhausting sometimes too. And I don't know, I think, in all that to say, I think I'm gonna try going forward, try to notice that and just rein it in a little bit and see what happens, right? Like, for example, I think sometimes, like, when I'm listening to someone's story, maybe I'm like just too interested or like too engaged or like too expressive as I'm listening. I think sometimes people appreciate that, and I do it and I give it like freely, and I do it from a genuine place. But I wonder if it's maybe more in line with the core of who I am if I listen and am less just enthusiastic about that process and just more like, I don't know. So I'm just gonna be playing around with this idea. But I think this idea of performing and feeling the need to like earn people's like positive reactions, yeah, it's interesting. Like, if I actually think about it, it consumes a lot of my like mental processing power. I mean, but again, it's this double-edged sword, because, or I don't know, maybe that's a bad analogy, but it's got two sides, because on the one hand I really enjoy it and it's something I'm passionate about. I love communicating and I love like creating a good conversation with somebody, and I know other people appreciate that too. Everybody hates small talk, and I feel like it's a life goal of mine to figure out conversations and how to have a good conversation with somebody, or even a group conversation, which is a lot harder to do. How to have one in any scenario, right? And to be good at it. And that's something that I'm really passionate about and I really enjoy. I also love connecting with people. And I think that's why I've developed this enthusiasm oftentimes when I'm interacting with people, because people respond to it really well, and I'm able to create it in an authentic way. But there's something there. There's this third factor. There's something that I need to think about more. There's some dialing in. I think this slum has been teaching me that, and I think it's related to introversion and extroversion, and I think I lean heavily into the extroversion because of some of these expectations that I put on myself. So I'm gonna, like, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna try to find maybe more of that balance. Do some experimenting and see what comes up. So, all right, that's it for today. See ya.